This is Get Your Entrepreneurship Together, where you'll find stories, tips, and value from successful entrepreneurs who are out there crushing it. Here's a short preview of this week's episode.
You know, son, you don't have a sleep problem. You have a sleep debt problem. I teach two techniques to how to power up your mind. The number one is called vivid imagination.
Speaking of time, is there an optimal time to go to bed?
All the time. You can, sleep when you die. I tell these people, you might get your wish.
And welcome back to the show, everyone. My name is Brian Elam. I'll be your host. And today is going to be an exciting topic. And it's probably going to put you to sleep. It's so exciting. I'm here today with Dr. Bijoy John, who is a sleep specialist. So if you're into biohacking as an entrepreneur or as just an individual, period, you're going to want to stay tuned to this conversation. There's going to be a lot of good stuff, a lot of tips, I'm sure. And so I just can't wait to get into this. Dr. Bijoy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Brian. So you talked about it. Sleep is the superpower. We have it within ourselves. So my aim is I've discovered it through my own perils. I've perfected the art in 25 years as a clinical, doctor and providing care to my patients. I've helped them. I wrote a book. So I want to share it with the world because I know the superpower that we can unleash so we can be a better version, better people, better, whatever jobs you're doing, entrepreneur, so we can be a better version of ourselves. So I'm ready when you are, and let's go. Let's share the joy.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So you started off exactly where I wanted to go because I want to hear, and I'm sure our audience wants to hear your story as well, your struggles with sleep and how you got into this field.
Great question. So from a young age, my mom put me to sleep. She taught she was a teacher, so she knew the power. So she always taught me the good habits. So I was a napper from a young age. I slept 8 to 10 hours as a child. So what happens? I went to med school when I was 17. So always found that I did better when I slept instead of burning the midnight oil. I did better on the test if I actually sleep longer. So from a young age, I knew this is something that I have to do because my memory was better, my recollections were better. So, but in med school, they never taught me any of this. So as life goes on, I was a shift worker. I have 4 medical specialties. I was an intensive care unit, a doctor, and sleep was part of my one of my forces, but intensive care unit took the better. Even in the ICU, I saw patients who slept better, heal better because we wake these patients up all the time. So we implemented strategies so that we don't wake them up if we don't have to. So they actually did better. So wow, that's an interesting experience. And then when I lost my mom, it was grief. I couldn't sleep and I had to find my way. I have to find my way at work as a shift worker. I had to find my way when I started my business, all the stress. But I was able to do that and everything, even when I wrote a book, the title calls Nobody is Sleeping. And it came out after a great night of sleep. And this title came to my head. So I know sleep has got so many important potential that we have locked within ourselves. So I said, I've implemented it, and then I started teaching this to all my patients. Patients come all around with different problems with sleeping. They take sleeping pills. I'm able to wean them off. So that strategy works. So the 7, strategies that I teach people holistically, it worked in my own life. So I wanted to teach. So I have a personal experience not sleeping. I've conquered that. I've taught it. I've wrote the book, and now I'm coming on your show to share with your audience how we can do that holistically and how we can charge ourselves.
Awesome. And let's just get into it. Let's get into sharing the value because we've got a limited time here. We've got a hard stop. So speaking of time, is there an optimal time to go to bed?
Great question. I always recommend people to go to sleep between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. That's what I do in my own life because a lot of great sleep, the non-REM sleep happens early in the night and REM sleep happens towards the morning. So to get all the stages and cycles, you need to go to bed before midnight. So, but unfortunately, with COVID was a defining moment in our history. Everybody's clock has moved forward because what happened, when you're youngsters, because teenagers, the clock moves forward. People tend to get, bed to later and wake up later. And then what happened with COVID, people started working from home. See, before, in after college, when we have a 9 to 5 job, people have to wake up at 6, get ready, go to work. But with COVID, everybody starts working from their own home, and the clock is forward. This is a universal, global problem that has happened in the last 4 to 5 years with the pandemic. So ideal time to go to sleep is between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. plus or minus. We need, as a grown adult, we need 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
Gotcha. And I've also heard that women need more sleep than men. Is that true, or is that just something because it gives them an excuse to hit the snooze button?
No, there's something to it, but scientifically, women also need about the same hours, 7 to 8 hours. But the truth is, if you're, a new mom who's feeding the baby, they need more rest to recuperate. And of course, one of the hormones they secrete during breastfeeding is called oxytocin that makes you sleepier. So during the certain times in their lives, they need a little bit longer sleep. But in general, men and women need the same hours of sleep.
Okay. And just to be clear, ladies, I wasn't trying to disparage you for anything. I was just trying to, get a rumor solved. So I thank you for that, doctor. All
Yeah,
right.
I do. But women have more sleeping problems, insomnia, difficulty shading and maintaining sleep. So that's why I said I'm going to dedicate a chapter for women's sleep in my book. So
That's a
women
great
don't sleep
idea.
well. Yes.
Absolutely. Appeal to your audience and
Yes.
and also niche down within one book. I love it. That's a great
Yes.
entrepreneurial lesson right there, folks.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, speaking of entrepreneurs and the clock moving forward and burning the candle at both ends, I've been guilty of that as well in the past. I now know that's not the best way to go for your sleep and for your health, but I'm going to tell on myself here a little bit. So every night I lay in bed and I've got my phone in my hand and I'm playing my favorite game before I go to sleep. Now, am I messing myself up?
Wow, Brian, you're getting it all wrong, brother. So
Oh
I
no.
hear this all the time. You can, sleep when you die. I tell these people, you might get your wish like that. See, what's happening is we get this information from the internet. There is a subset of people among us who are called short sleepers, right? They can function great with less sleep. Elon Musk is a classic example. He can, and also our previous presidents, President Trump, President Obama, these people don't need much sleep, but they have the genetic lottery. We don't. So people take that example and say, hey, they don't sleep much. Even Elon Musk thought, he everybody is like him, but then he realized, hey, he's different. So we are, 99% of all of us need 7 to 8 hours. So we need that hour. You're getting it all wrong. So I have the 7 proven sleep strategies. I have the acronym. It's called Sleep Now. I'll go what you did wrong when I go down the acronym. So whenever you're ready, I'm ready to share with the audience. I want to give everybody who listens to this show to be sleep great.
All right. Well, I won't be selfish. I won't just go right ahead. Let's
Right.
hear it.
So everybody who's, this has taken me 25 years to perfect. I practice this every day in my own life. I did this last night. So the acronym is Sleep Now, SLEEPNOW. So my subtitle, the title of my book is called Nobody's Sleeping. The subtitle is the 7 proven sleep strategies. I've taken that and used this as an acronym, right? So let's go to the acronym. The first is the S, is the schedule. Like I mentioned, we need a schedule. Like any plan to succeed, you have to have a schedule, right? You have to work between these hours. So you have to sleep between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Like I mentioned, you need to sleep during this time to get the stages and the different cycles, all right? So that's solved. Next is the L. So low light, low noise, low temperature in your bedroom. Why? The hormone that we have, the greatest hormone that puts us to sleep is melatonin. We are a melatonin factory. I'm a proponent of making our own melatonin. So you have to induce it by keeping your bedroom cool, bedroom dark, and low noise. The word mela means darkness. Melatonin is only secreted in low temperature and low light. So here is where you're going wrong. The next is E in the acronym electronics. So the light from the phone, especially in your bedroom where there's no ambient light, so the light is more powerful. It tells your brain, the light enters the eye and tells the brain, it is still daytime, no need to go to sleep, right? So remember, the melatonin only secretes in darkness. So you are so wrong. So I tell people to not do not use the electronics. Ideally, 1 hour prior, but at least 30 minutes. More importantly, what happens with the electronics if it's next to you? There's the dings, there's notification. You want to look at, hey, did anybody like my post? You have the other temptation. Also, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you look at the phone and it's 3 o'clock, you think, oh, wow, it's only 3 o'clock. Wow, it is 3 o'clock. So I keep my phone far away in my bathroom. I set an alarm for 6, and I literally have to wake up and walk. I'm done. I don't hit the snooze button. So big no, and don't keep your phone for many reasons, the light and the disturbances. So the next E is exercise. What happens when you exercise, especially closer to bedtime? It increases the body temperature, the core body temperature, and also it releases a lot of endorphins. We are hyper stimulated. So remember, the melatonin is only secreted in lower temperature, so the body heat is not good, conducive for sleeping. So I tell people to exercise at least 4 hours prior to sleep, or if you can, at least 2 hours, so your body has a chance to cool down. Remember, the melatonin is only secreted just prior to the drop in the core body temperature. Just like anything you do before bedtime that increases core body temperature, even eating a big meal, because the digestive process creates heat, and also the exercise creates heat. So do not have a big meal close to bedtime. Do not exercise close to bedtime. So next is the P in the acronym. So we have done SLEEP. P is powering off your mind. See, easier said than done, but you have to give a chance to your mind to cool down or calm. You do by not having temptations near you. You do by cooling your body. You've done A, B, and C. Now you're to D. I teach two techniques to how to power off your mind. The number one is called vivid imagination. So this is my technique. I do it. I did it last night. When I lay in bed, I'm not thinking about my bills or my problems with my employees or anything else. I'm going to think about something abstract. The last show I watched, Olympic Games. Well, wow, I wish I was a runner. What would I have done differently? I would have slept more before this running. So I think about all that and I form the story and I go to bed. So that's vivid imagination to power your mind off. And then also I teach, yoga nidra. Nidra means nothingness. So I tell people to lay down on your back, palms up, and think about nothing. But if you have to think about something, you start thinking about your muscles in your face, your neck, your chest, and go all the way down. It's called scanning. It's one of the techniques of cognitive behavioral therapy of insomnia. So you go all the way down. But remember, you can only power off your mind by giving it a chance. So you've done the other three things in front of you. So that's power of your mind. Next is no to worries. So what we do, I tell people we are born creatures to worry. We worry about everything in our lives. But I tell people to take a dedicated time to worry between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. I was getting ready for your show. I said, "What time is it?" Okay, noon tomorrow. Okay, we'll. That's it. I'm not thinking about it in laying in bed. Oh, did I check that box? So I do all that between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. and I'm done after that. So dedicated worry time, and then that's it. When you enter the bed, so from 8 p.m., I'm preparing to go to bed. And the last is W, that's win by losing yourself. In the hustle culture, we want to win. But to win sleep, you got to keep it simple. Many rituals. You got to take it easy. Just follow what I told you. SLEPNOW, schedule, low light, low noise, then no to electronics, then exercise at least 2 to 4 hours prior, powering off your mind, no to worries, and win by losing. This is the magic. There's unfortunately We have met our match in the hustle culture. Hustle culture is hustle, hustle, hustle. Sleep is taking the opposite of hustle culture. You can data mine your way. You can hustle your way into sleep. I tell people sleep is like a dimmer switch. You have to work it slowly. It's not an on and off switch. I wish it was like that, but anything on and off, taking like a sleeping pill, it won't work. So that's my magic. I do it. I've helped many thousands of people, folks in their walk. So I'm shared it with all of you. So everybody hope they've written it down, Brian.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys. If you didn't write that down, rewind this, pause it if you need to. Make sure you get that acronym sleep now, because I mean that he just gave you all the keys to hack your sleep and get better quality sleep. So there it is. Now I want to go back and see if I can save myself even a little bit from what I told you. Now
Yes.
on my phone, I have the blue light filtering on, so there is no blue light hitting my eyes. Does that help? Does that, am I redeemed?
So my favorite analogy is like between Coke and Diet Coke, right? And so so these filters, but still it's light. I mean, it's going to help you some, but it's not going to help you the whole way, right? So no phone. Nice try, Brian. So I tell people when you enter the bedroom, it's like the TSA. When you go to the airport, it's the scanner. You're entering with your phone, beep, leave it out. You're entering your bedroom with worries in your mind, beep, you just have to leave it out. So enter the entrance to your bedroom should be a screening device. Phone, worries, you just leave it out. And also, I encourage meditation music, but whatever meditation, but do it outside. See, the bedroom and the bed is only for sex and sleeping, not for worrying or snoring. Right? It is a sanctuary. You know what I'm saying? So after COVID, we bring work to home. From home, we bring it to the bedroom, right? So we can do that. People, you might be able to do it for a few years, but it will catch up with you. So just not, from tonight. No phone. It should be a no phone zone. It should be 6 feet away for many reasons. There are some health concerns that they're talking about, the radiation from the phone. So many reasons. It works on your body. It works on your mind. So after today, I'm going to check on you tomorrow, Brian.
All right, all right. No, no more phone on the nightstand. I hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Now you mentioned something right there that I also wanted to touch on with the radiation and the whole like proximity to your phone. One of the things that I've started doing, again from watching things on the internet, but it seems to help, is I've been turning off the Wi-Fi on my phone at night, and I notice a difference. Have you looked into that?
I don't. I've not looked into it, but I can tell you something. We are creatures of electricity. The heart pumps. Electricity. There's an electrical circuit in our body, right? There's an electrical circuit in our brain. So we are magnetic people. Like even if we comb, there's static energy on the comb. Things stick to us. There is some energy of people we are around. We become more empowered. So we are creatures of energy. We are a bundle of energy. So when you take anything else from the outside, which is emitting energy, there's going to be a clash, and our body will fight to neutralize that energy. So if you ask me if there is some truth to turning off the Wi-Fi or keeping things away, absolutely, I would say I've not looked into it, but by knowing science and knowing my body, I know there has to be a reason, and
Fair
it's
enough.
not good to have your phone near you.
Yeah, yeah, no, I 100% agree. Absolutely. And like I said, I've noticed a difference from doing that. So I appreciate you weighing in on that. And also something you said before we touched on the phone thing again was the idea of catching up. And I was going to get your opinion on this. Is there such a thing as catching up on sleep? Because I've heard both ways, yes and no.
Yes, absolutely. You have to catch up on sleep. Just imagine if you are compromising 1 hour of sleep a night. In a week, it's 7 hours. So you're not slept one whole night. Practically my children, when they were in college, they used to say, Dad, I have a sleep problems. I said, son, you don't have a sleep problem. You have a sleep debt problem. So when they come home for, holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I unplug them. I said, go to your room and just sleep. And they sleep for like 14 hours, 16 hours. And within 3 days, they caught up. You know, there's a talk about it's called bed rotting. You rot in your bed. I encourage youngsters to, catch up on their sleep debt by doing that. But what do youngsters are doing? The wrong thing to do is even when you're rotting, people take their phones and tablets and computers and work. So that's not healthy. You're catching up, you need to rest. So I do that in my own life when I am hustling. A weekend, I just plug, I'm going to sleep. See, if you look at any athletes, any top achieving professionals, they have figured out the value of sleep. I put on my Instagram one clip of one child was asking LeBron, what is the best health hack? He said, hey, sleep, number one. He just didn't. Same thing with Roger Federer, the tennis players. So Tom Brady, they all prioritize sleep. The elite ones have figured it out, right? So if you want to be at the elite, you're doing working out, you're eating right, you're hustling. Hey, when you focus it better and that 1 extra hour, you are better at everything.
All right. There you go. You heard it right here, folks. Sleep debt is a real thing. So if you're behind, catch up. Now, doctor, you also mentioned something about in your own practice using an alarm clock, which kind of caught my ear a little bit. Because again, in this whole conversation about sleep, there's multiple versions of it. I've heard alarm clocks are a great thing. I've also heard they're the devil. So apparently you are kind of in the latter camp. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what happened is there's fancy alarms. There's no need for fancy alarms. It simulates daytime, you snooze it and it makes another sound. No need for all that. Simple alarm clock, not in your eyesight because you don't want to see the time. I use my phone as an alarm. It's in my bathroom. I set it up for morning. That's my schedule. So, sometimes what happens is people who don't sleep well, they take naps, and I try to create sleep debt on them. I kind of move their clock. Sometimes I tell them to wake up, a little bit earlier, a little bit later, depending on this. So, absolutely, to answer the question, I'm a huge fan of alarm clock and I don't keep it next to me because you're, tempted to snooze. You're literally walking out and you're out of your sleep. You're done, right? So, I'm
Yes.
a fan of alarm, but the alarm has to be away from your body.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I learned that lesson the hard way when I was working security way back in the day, and I was on third shift. And yeah, I would get up. I wouldn't get up. I would hit that snooze, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm late to work. So I started
Yes.
putting it across the room from me on the dresser. So I actually, like you said, had to get up out of bed. And wouldn't you know, that solved the problem.
Awesome. See, if you're snoozing, you can't wake up, you are having a sleep debt, either from, the common is called insufficient sleep syndrome. You're not sleeping enough, or you could have a sleep disorder, or you could have a medical disorder, or you could have a psychological disorder. The body's telling you if you're tired in the morning after 8 hours of sleep, if you're sleeping 6 hours and feeling tired, hey, it's a very easy solution. You have insufficient sleep or sleep debt. But if you're sleeping 7, 8 hours consistently for a week and you're still tired, then you have to ask myself, hey, do I have a sleep problem? Do you have a medical problem? Do you have a psychological problem? See, we heal in our sleep. We are all walking around anxious. The easy solution is by sleeping 30, 45, 1 hour, we heal. So I help people to, heal a lot of their psychological problems by sleeping better.
Wow. I would not have gone there, but that's a great thing to have brought up. So thank you for that. Yeah, because there's a lot of people out there right now that are struggling with anxiety, and it's a real thing. I myself have gone through that, and yeah, I'm grateful that you brought that up.
Yeah, page 89 in my book, I have a circle. Poor sleep. At the bottom, I have anxiety and depression. Poor sleep worsens anxiety and depression, and anxiety and depression worsens sleep. So it's a vicious cycle. We can get out of the cycle by taking the first step. I've literally helped a lot of patients come down on the medications or even get off the medications by helping them to sleep better. So I get a lot of referrals from psychiatric friends, colleagues, because the anxiety and poor sleep go hand in hand.
That's great. Again, that is so awesome to know that that is a correlation and it can be a natural type of fix, which I know a lot of people that watch this channel are into the more natural methods of healing. So that is so great. Another thing you mentioned when you talked about going through the threshold of the bedroom is it's no place for snoring. And that is a big concern. It typically happens with men, obviously. Um, Snoring and sleep apnea, are those two things correlated? And is the snoring a warning sign of future apnea?
Great question. When you snore, that means air is going through a narrow passage. You have an obstruction. So if you're snoring, whether you're a child or an adult, you got to address it. That is, if you snore, there's almost a 90% chance you have obstructive sleep apnea. So you mentioned men snore a lot. That's because our larynx is bigger. The windpipe, it's like a trumpet. And at the end, the larynx is bigger, so our voice is amplified and the snoring is amplified. So that's why men snore more. Women's larynx is smaller, right? So that's why, and estrogen in women protect against sleep apnea by keeping all the muscles together. So women lose their ability to protect themselves from sleep apnea after menopause. So women also have more sleep apnea. So men get more help earlier because of the snoring is much louder. And you know what? Today couples are sleeping separately, and it's called sleep divorce because of the snoring. So my aim is to bring the couples together and to heal and being back to the bedroom because of the snoring. So if you snore, you have a chance of almost 90% chance of having sleep apnea.
All right, so there's a correlation. There's your warning sign, guys. If you're in there sawing logs and your wife is smacking you with the pillow at night, it's time to pay attention, not just because she's annoyed at you, because it's your health we're talking about here. So, on that same vein, since if this warning sign does come on and people start snoring, is there something they can do? Like, I've heard that, raising the pillow in the bed, changing your angle that you're sleeping at can help with that. Is that correct? Or is there other things that people can do?
So those are some of the wrong information. The most searched items on sleep is insomnia and sleep apnea. So remember let me explain a little bit about snoring. The main cause of snoring is the tongue falling back, right? So the problem is in the back of the throat, the tongue blocking. It's like a boulder on a crossroad. So we got to fix the problem from inside out. So anything you do from outside in, like pillows and mattress, it's going to help a little bit, but it's not going to cure the problem. So even sleep problems is it's in your head. You're worrying. So sleep problems, any sleep problem can only be worked from inside out. You got to work on your anxiety, what's within you, and the tongue falling back. You can't work out from the side in. That's today's commercial industry will tell you, and people this fancy beds, and then they spend a lot of money on the beds, and then they can't sleep because of the money they spent. And so you can you can help a little bit. You can help a little bit. In the cooling portion of the bed helps because it helps to secrete melatonin. Your body's colder. Other than that, you can change a little bit of your body position. But remember, tongue is a boulder sitting there blocking. What can you do by changing your position of the neck? It's not going to change. It might. That's why. Just imagine. Why are you snoring the worst on your back? That's when you get the elbow. I got a lot of elbow from my own wife, so I had sleep apnea myself, so I took care of it. The tongue, the gravity when you're on your back pulls it way down, like it drops like a big lump, and so when you roll on your side, it gets out. So that's why the snoring is much better on your side.
Okay, okay. So you don't necessarily need the big fancy beds or like the strange mouth contraptions or whatever to help the snoring. You just roll onto your side.
Yeah, that's if you have a little bit of a problem, but you still snore after that. I recommend anybody who snores. See, children is a little bit easier. Both my children snored, so they both had enlarged tonsil and adenoids. So once I fixed that, the snoring is gone. Their mood was better. A third of kids that are diagnosed with ADHD have sleep apnea. Would you believe? And it's an easy fix because children are more hyper when they're not rested. So I remember my children, my daughter running around, but when I held her tight, she would go to sleep. So children become hyper when they are tired. So and for but for adults, the tonsils is not a major factor. It's the tissue around because of the hormonal changes and the weight. So we got to work on it. All those contraptions in the tongue, pulling, suctioning, mouthpieces, they don't work. If it is done by a really good dentist, who knows how to move the jaw, then it works. But all over the counters things, will end up, not helping much. I see a lot of ads and all that. Those help you very, very partially, not a lot.
All right. And, speaking of devices that help, this is probably just more for my own curiosity than anything, but I was wondering if you'd seen that implantable device. I believe it's called Inspire. It's for sleep apnea. Instead of having to be on a CPAP,
Yes.
it's like an internal. What's your
So,
thoughts on that?
so I mean, it helps. Inspire is an implantable. It's like a pacemaker device. It's under the skin, under your collarbone, and there's the wire that stimulates the tongue nerve. So and it gets every time you breathe, it sends a signal to the tongue to move the tongue forward. So the treatment is to get the tongue forward. It helps. I have a lot of patients on it. I see them, but it is a surgery. You have to deal with it. You have to see an expert who knows what the heck they're doing. So it comes with a lot of nuances and follow up. For people who cannot tolerate CPAP, CPAP is a gold standard still, and the oral appliance is another therapy. And there's another technique called newer called Excite OSA. It's a tongue stimulating device, strengthens the tongue so the tongue doesn't fall. And of course, we have Inspire therapy now. So those are the four major treatments for sleep apnea.
Well, there you go, folks. If that's something that you're struggling with, you just heard the four different ways that you can help deal with it. So talk with your doctor, make sure you get the right thing that's right for you. And I want to go into one of the E's from your sleep now, which was exercise. I'm a big component or proponent of exercise. I try to get in 3 times a week typically. Um, I know that that helps going into the sleep cycle, but I was more curious about discussing restless leg syndrome, the causes around that, and does being physically active help with that, like I've heard.
So restless legs syndrome is the oldest disorder known to man that your doctor doesn't know, right? And so the number one cause of restless leg syndrome, would you believe it, is iron deficiency, right? It's a movement disorder. The hormone that helps with movement depends on iron. So the low iron is the number one treatable cause of restless leg syndrome. So restless leg syndrome is an important disorder that prevents people from sleeping. You are frigidity, you're moving around, moving your legs. So there are other causes like B12, folate deficiency. Sometimes people who have kidney failure are restless, but it's an easily treatable condition. Go and check your iron and ferritin, the baby iron. That's very important to check. And by treating your iron deficiency, you can significantly improve your restless leg syndrome.
That's perfect. I had no clue there was actually an iron deficiency. I had just always heard it's because you had all this stored up energy in your body because we're sitting around all day on computers, watching TV on our phones, what have you. And there's just stored up energy in the body that's trying to come out. But yeah, it's so interesting. I'm going to clip this section right here and put that out separately because this needs to get out there. And another thing that people struggle with is trying to stop their mind. You know, people can't sleep because their mind just it goes and goes and goes and just will not stop. A lot of people struggle with meditation because they can't get their mind to stop. You mentioned a couple of techniques, and one that I believe that I'm using called that. I believe you said it was yoga nidra, basically where you're scanning your body and relaxing them. Could you go into that a little bit deeper?
Great. So remember, when I talked about you have to give your mind a chance to rest. You're going 60 miles an hour from 60 to zero. You can't. You have to give it a chance. You have to be at least by the time you hit the bed at 10 miles an hour. to get to zero. So, I talked the other techniques, all the other stuff I talked about. So you're in that position. So nidra is a Sanskrit word. It's called nothingness, right? Yoga is, is the energy way of life, and nidra is nothingness. That's the Sanskrit definition. So you're nothing. You have to lay, and also it's called the corpse pose. You're laying down like a corpse. You're laying on your back with your arms up. So that's called the corpse pose. And then you have to just stop. And if you want to think about something, the higher mind, higher conscious won't think about anything. But we are not there. We are working our ways to the higher mind. So then we have to give our mind something. Hey, you can either use the vivid imagination technique I said, or this yoga nidra, just lay down. And then if you want to think about nothing, you can. But if you cannot do that, you can start thinking about it's called body scan. Just scan your body, and that gives you. But remember, you cannot do it if you're not done the other steps, not having all the stimulation hitting in your body.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very important point. It's not like you said, it's not like sleep. You can't just flick a switch and all of a sudden go to sleep. And
Right.
as you're winding your body down, you can't just flip a switch and think about nothing. I'm sure there's many people that are watching this right now that are like, "Yep, that there's no flip switching to think about nothing. It just doesn't work."
Yes, I tell people it's like a seven-course meal. You have to have your music, you have to have your wine, you have to have your, salad. You can go to the steak. Uh, and also, one other thing people struggle, this may be another important thing. See, you cannot go to your bed trying to sleep, right? Bed is only for sleep and sex. Just like you don't sit at the dinner table to get hungry, you only go there when it's ready to go, right? So that's a great analogy that I use. So you have to go when you're tired. So work yourself up. You have to give your chance by 8 p.m. You're working, so dedicate yourself, and you will find the inner strength. You'll find the joy, just like I've discovered. I'm sharing it with everyone. Once you do that, an extra hour of sleep, you will have 5 hours of extra productivity, and not to mention all the errors that can happen. By you're in a cranky mood, you make errors. You do lots of I screen all my employees of how much sleep. I taught everything to my own family, my patients, and everybody close to me. I am talking about the power of sleep.
Excellent. And it's a good point that you made about feeling good about yourself when you implement these strategies. Just like if you're an entrepreneur and you're knocking out a project, you're getting things done, you're hitting those goals, it feels good. Well, it also feels good to know that you put the time into yourself and you're actually moving the needle on improving your own health. And Doctor, I can't thank you enough for this conversation. I've got one more I've just got to try to sneak in, and it is melatonin. You mentioned that earlier, that we are natural producers of it, but so many people are taking melatonin to help them sleep. Again, another thing that I've heard is that actually taking melatonin can be harmful to your body and to its process. Could you talk about that for a little bit?
Correct. So anybody who's using melatonin, I tell them to take it and throw it in the trash, right? We have our own melatonin. See, our secretion of anything that the body secretes is so complicated. It doesn't give melatonin all at once. It gives you a little bit, then it gives you a big pulse, and it's also timed to your core body temperature. The peak happens half hour prior to your body temperature dropping. So that's how sensitive it is. So the body is not used to it. Just imagine if you drink a glass of wine today, tomorrow you will need two, or because you want to feel the same high. It's called down regulation. Your body gets tolerant. Same thing with melatonin. When you take an external melatonin, it goes high and the body is like, wow. And then you have to up the ante. So it's not like the natural. So I use melatonin only for two things. If you have a clock problem in teenagers, the clock moves, or in adults, the moves backwards. Or if you have jet lag, your clock is all, that's a separate topic by itself. So I only use melatonin for those two circumstances. To sleep, just know melatonin does not put you to sleep. It just changes the time when you fall asleep. So it just changes the clock. Nothing to do with people who say they sleep well on melatonin have something called hypnotic dependence. The melatonin is not helping because if you take 1 milligram today, in a week you need two becomes five. If you're taking a pill to go to sleep, hey, you're surrendering your power. We need to take back control. We don't need anything. We have our own melatonin.
Perfectly said. I love it. All right. Well, guys, this unfortunately is the end of our conversation. This man is obviously a busy man in high demand and has to run. Dr. Bijoy, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find more about you and get into your world and start getting your help?
Yes, I have my website. It's called Sleep Fix Academy. I'm on all the social media handles as Dr. Sleep Fix. So you can find me as Dr. Sleep Fix. And I have my book. It's called Nobody's Sleeping, right? So I have an online course for people to take. It's called the Sleep Now course. It's available on my website. So many, information. I'm on multiple podcasts. I'm on, on social media. So my aim is to spread this to the world, and I want everybody to be on this journey and to empower. We grow in our sleep, we heal in our sleep, we learn in our sleep. It's magic. It is free. It's within us. You have to work a little bit, not hustle, but you have to work it, and it's possible. I'm in the part of the hustle culture. I know. I've been there. So here it is. So Sleep Fix Academy, www.sleepfixacademy.com. You can find everything about me.
Perfect. Home run, brother. All right, guys. Well, those links are going to be below. So click, go over, get the website, take the course, read the book, get the sleep that you need, and share this episode. I don't normally harp on this very much, but share this episode. This information needs to get out. This message needs to get out to as many people as possible. You never know whose life you can positively impact with just a simple share. So share it out, like the episode, subscribe if you want to see more episodes like this. Oh, and ask the questions below. What do you want to know about entrepreneurship? Ask those questions below, and I'll find you the answers. Doctor, thank you again for coming on. And I really appreciate you and your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian. Sleep well, be well, and let's all go sleeping.
I love it. All right, guys. Peace. We'll see you in the next one.